Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and before we get into this video, I just wanted to let you guys know why I deleted the previous video. Everyone makes mistakes here and there, and I think I'm entitled to make some mistakes here and there on this channel as well, as long as I admit to them. So Timothy Liljegren, his contract is not eligible to slide. So that's not the reason why to not play him or whatever. The reason why the Maple Leafs wouldn't be playing him is because he's simply just not good enough to play at the NHL level right now. But to kind of keep in line with the video topic that I already had lined up for today, there are other conversations that we could have about Timothy Liljegren that are not pertaining to his contract. Because I feel like when he was first drafted here in Toronto, a lot of people were really excited about it. They were really surprised that he even fell to the Toronto Maple Leafs at 17th overall in the 2017 draft. And I think his setbacks and his development have been well documented by now. The guy had mono before his draft year. So right then and there, you're going to lose between 6 months and a year of development. And he's still trying to play catch up at 20 years of age. And it's also well noted that Kyle Dubas was contemplating calling him up last year after the World Junior Championships, but he suffered a high ankle sprain, and then it just wasn't in the cards for him anymore. They were planning on doing something similar to what they did with Travis Dermott a couple of seasons before that. But I mean, those are just the physical side of things. I know they kind of go hand in hand, but for him to be ranked second on Bob McKenzie's preseason draft rankings going into the 2017 season, there has to be more to this player. But then again, Bob McKenzie, just like myself, is not perfect. He is wrong at times, and he had Frederic Gauthier ranked 13th on his mid-season 2013 rankings. And I don't want to be making snap judgments on a guy that's just 20 years old who will be 21 at the end of April, especially because we've only seen him play 9 games, and in those 9 games, he's played limited minutes, right? It's hard to kind of get into a groove when you're not playing that much, and also when you're not playing on the power play like he was used to with the Marlies. And feel free to call me out on this in the comment section if I am wrong, because I don't watch every Toronto Marlies game, but I do watch them when they are on TV, and I do believe that he was killing penalties in the American Hockey League, as do a lot of the Toronto Marlies that get called up to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have a well-rounded game by the time that they get here, because the development staff just does an excellent job with them. And I think that Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren being so close in age and them being both from Sweden, they've kind of been linked together, and I don't necessarily think that that's fair, because Rasmus Sandin is not the norm. He's the exception, very much so. And with Timothy Liljegren, for a guy who's 20 years old and going to be 21 at the end of this season, if it takes him another year or two to become a regular in the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup, where he is taking time on the power play, where he is killing penalties for them, where he is relied upon more 5-on-5, then that's okay. So if we could just separate that connection that's been made between those two players and just look at Timothy Liljegren as an individual and as his play on its own, I think that we can appreciate that the Toronto Maple Leafs have a pretty special prospect here. Because I've shown this page a couple of times, and what this is that this is individual seasons in the American Hockey League, and these are defenders only under the age of 20. And if we scroll down on this list, there's a couple of really impressive names here. There's Rasmus Sandin at number 10, and if we keep scrolling down, we're going to see Rasmus Sandin again at number 38. But sandwiched in between there, Timothy Liljegren at 35 and 37, and when we scroll down this list here, there's a couple of really good defensemen that are playing in the NHL right now that are in and around the same territory as Timothy Liljegren was at that age. And now this is a list of defenders under the age of 21 in the American Hockey League from the 99-2000 season until now. And it's sorted by points per game. And unfortunately, I don't pay for the filter that you can filter out all the guys with less than 10 games played. So you're just going to have to deal with that. But Timothy Liljegren, again, 28th on this list in terms of points per game with 29 points in 38 games this season for the Toronto Marlies. And you can see the company that he's in on this list. And I mean, let's not talk Rasmus Sandin up to be something that he's not. On some nights, he needs to be sheltered, but on others, he's quarterbacking power play too, and he looks amazing, like he belongs in the show. And if Liljegren is not at that point yet, then that's okay, like I said earlier in the video. Because once again, to repeat myself, Rasmus Sandin is not the norm, he's the exception. And if Timothy Liljegren is going to take another year or so to reach that same status or that same level, then it's worth letting him do that. Would I include him in a trade? I mean, I'm not going to say no because everyone's available for the right price, right? So if there were a trade to emerge this offseason where the Maple Leafs would get a right shot defenseman on a cost controlled contract who wasn't too old, maybe between the ages of 25 and 28, and Timothy Liljegren was the main package of that deal to get that player, then yeah, sure, go ahead. But otherwise, I am stoked to have him as a prospect in the Maple Leafs' system. So it's probably better for him to return to the American Hockey League and not just kind of sit and rot or only play for 10 minutes and not get that penalty kill or power play time. It's best that he goes down to the American Hockey League and continues to work on this season and climb the rankings. It's a lot better than being on a practice line with Cody Ceci. And I mean, if you want to play the game of who the Maple Leafs could have taken 17th overall in the 2017 NHL draft, I mean, there aren't too many names after Liljegren here that you can say 100% confidently, I would much rather have that player. There's maybe 3 or 4 players that, yeah, maybe you could have looked at them instead. But the Maple Leafs really do need right shot defensemen, and I think it was the right bet to make on him at the time. But let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on what the next step for Timothy Liljegren should be with the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you're really keen on trading him, what kind of a player do you look for in return? I mean, it'd be interesting to have that conversation as well. And make sure to leave a like on the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more because more is always on the way. And guys, the Toronto Maple Leafs are still making the playoffs.